Hello, everyone, and welcome to Health is Wealth. I'm excited that you're able to join us today. We have a special guest that's going to be talking to us about the importance of plant-based living and eating, and cleanliness as far as health and wealth and wellness. So we have Tiara Logan, the owner, CEO, and owner of TC Hair Suite. She is the one who does my beautiful hair styles. So thanks to her, and also as a mother, entrepreneur, a multi many hats that she wears. So I've asked Tiara to come on the show and just really briefly share why she decided to adopt a plant-based lifestyle and any advice she may have for others who are thinking about that. So Tiara, what made you want to give up meat and dairy?
Well, I was told that I had breast cancer, but then prior to that, I began following Dr. Sebi, and he spoke of like ways of healing the body naturally without medicine.
Yeah, and then also just for those who don't know, Dr. Sebi is a world-renowned natural herbalist healer who passed recently, but really is really adopted and supported and encourage other people to adopt a lifestyle of no plant, no meat, no dairy, no starches, and really a strict healthy food diet.
Well, really, when I first began following him, it was just like small things, like the beans. Like, what are the best type of beans to eat? And so I would find the list, and I'm like, okay, this bean, I gotta dump this bean out, can't eat that. And so it started with that. But when I was told that I had breast cancer, they wanted me to start like chemo and all these different things, and I'm just like, no. And of course, I'm a mother of three, so I'm like, I have to live. I have to survive for
Absolutely.
these.
Yes.
And just witnessing so many people going through chemos and passing away, and like their life being cut short because something I feel could be, eliminated. So I stopped eating meat. I stopped eating dairy. The sugars I cut out, and as I was going through it, I was tested. I was tempted by different foods, but I felt great. Like my energy level was here.
Yeah.
I was able to focus more. I was more embedded in my purpose, and not to mention like my children.
Yeah.
They also watch, and like instead of me just saying we're not gonna eat meat, I actually explain like this is what it does to the body. These vegetables, these are good for this.
Yeah.
We made little people out of, so we had avocado, for example. We made some eyes. We made it into a face. So like making it fun.
Yeah.
So actually, it changed my life, and I would just say for anyone who is sick or is going through anything, like there are ways of healing the body just by changing your diet, because your food should be your medicine and not the other way around.
This is really powerful. I just want to go back to the point that you made around, you made the decision for your health, and in turn you made a decision for your children, your family, to really follow that style because of the love you have for them to be healthy and well. So what level of discipline do you have to have to really stick to something like that? And then also, how long were you adopting that lifestyle?
It was almost 5 years. And so my dad, he would always tell me like, these kids need some meat. They need some chicken. You know what? When they come over here, I'm not making nothing for them because I got to give them just some leaves off the trees. And so a lot of my family, just finding that support from people that understand your lifestyle is a little difficult and challenging, because you have some that don't have the same beliefs, and it's not the norm. And so discipline, it was extremely tough, but I knew what I needed to do. And so when you're able to just focus on what's good for you and your family, then everything else doesn't matter. And so your level of discipline needs to be here.
And that's really inspirational, I think, for a lot of us, because what it sounded like to me is you took control over your life in that moment when you realized your health is important. You wanted to live for your family, your children, and so knowing that you have to do something different, which means you have to pay a cost to be what quote unquote not normal or don't do what's popular. But then, I mean, you're also living testimony to the power of saying, I'm willing to try something new because I need a different result.
Right.
Right. So how did you keep motivated during the early stages of your plant-based lifestyle, and what did you do?
Things I did was, of course, I started cooking more because, of course, you can't go to a fast food joint and find something healthy. Like, you won't get cut up carrots and celery. So, getting more into what we buy at the store, including the children, like, in the shopping, like, what is that? And them identifying what it is. And then me telling them, oh, it's good for your eyes, or it's good for your skin, or things of that sort. With the cooking, we ate a lot of lentils. We ate a lot of things that they had never heard of. So it was different, but it was also good introducing that to them at a young age because that develops them into when they become older, then they're used to it. And so, a year and a half after, went back to get tested. They checked my breast, and it was gone.
Wow.
The doctors were just like...
That's amazing.
They're like, what did you do? And it's just like, oh, just changed my diet.
I love it. Let me stop there. Let me just stop there and just let's park there for a minute. So what you just said, and make sure everybody gets it here, is that you were diagnosed with breast cancer, and you decided that you wanted to do another path of healing versus what the recommendation from the doctors were, right? And through your teachings of Dr. Sebi and others in the holistic health space, you decided to take on a plant-based lifestyle, which means you gave up your meats, you gave up your dairy. It sounds like you limited your sugar intake too, which is wonderful. And then from there, you went back a year later, and the lump was gone. A year and a half later,
it was gone. And
that's
another thing that's important, we think about, even with hair care, we're like, okay, what can I use on my hair? This is good for it. But what's really important is what you're doing internally. So, okay, you're putting the products in, but if you're not working on yourself mentally, if you're not grounded, if you're eating right, but you're not focusing on your emotions or like things that your stresses or different things like that. If you're stressing, you're making it worse too. And so I was going through a lot of stress and all of those things. So I had to literally eliminate the people I was surrounded by, my thoughts, and all of that. So it's a combination of things. It's not just food. It's everything,
mind, body, spirit.
Exactly.
That's important because one thing that I mentioned a lot on this channel is really the importance of mindfulness, of our how our minds, our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, all of that is interconnected. We are one human being, and so we're not this mind separate from the body, separate from the emotions. So you're absolutely right that the stress levels, the toxic energy, the toxic foods, all of that is taking a toll on our health.
And one thing I will say, our food has definitely changed. When I was a child, we would eat chicken and it was fine, but now they're putting different things like hormones and all these things in the food that changes the molecular structure of the food. So what happens is we eat it and it starts to change our DNA. Because, okay, so let's say, I'll give an example. Like, I watched a video and it was of this cow, and they were preparing it for the slaughterhouse, right? And so you could see he knew he was about to die. So they're stressing that animal, right? So whatever that animal is feeling, ultimately we're eating that because that's a part of that animal's DNA. It doesn't just end there. Like, you're consuming it, and it's becoming who you are. So another thing I noticed is when I did eat meat, I would get upset or frustrated more often than normal, whereas now, like, I'm able to control how I'm feeling because I'm eating from something that wasn't under stress. It's a piece of fruit, or it's a vegetable, or and so
that's powerful. I appreciate you mentioning that. It reminds me of a story. So I was over recently at my husband's cousin's home, and she was saying that one of her girlfriends is interested, kind of introduce a new lifestyle as far as food for her. And when they were preparing, I guess some sort of, they were doing paleo, so it's a little different than the vegan style. But when they're introducing or cooking some bacon or whatnot, I think she mentioned her friend was saying that she couldn't eat that because she felt the torture of that animal. But and that's part of kind of why some people choose vegan lifestyle, because of the preventing animal cruelty. Others are more for health purposes, and some are a combination. And I will say this too, is that veganism and plant-based is a little different too, because I know some people use the terms interchangeably. So Veganism is also not taking in honey because that's an animal product of the bee. It's also not wearing clothing that causes, that, for example, fur or any other shoes or clothes or leather or anything that comes from an animal. But plant-based, which is what we're talking about more so here, is the food you put into your body, and really being mindful of the energy around you in general. So I do want to ask, final couple questions here, really around what would you say to those who are in the early stages? They're not quite vegans, or they're just trying it out for the month of January for Veganuary, but they really want to, they're not sure like how to keep it going or how to maintain it like you did over a 5-year period. So what advice would you give them?
Willpower is definitely important. There will always be temptation. There will always be a feeling like, oh, let me just go back to eating meat. It's just one time. But if you hold yourself accountable, one thing I actually did was I told a lot of people. So if I'm like, okay, look, I'm not going to eat meat. This is what I'm going to do. You eventually find yourself holding yourself to a higher standard because you have these people that are watching you. And so when there's other people surrounding you and they're trying to encourage you, oh, how you doing? You find yourself, I guess, more grounded in what you stand for. And so what's important to me is not just what other people think of what I'm doing, but actually finding a purpose. This is why I'm doing it, because I want to be healthy. I want to be more emotionally in touch with who I am as a woman. So find a purpose, a reason why you're doing it. Don't just do it because someone else is doing it, because you won't last long. I would just say find a purpose and stick with it, and be consistent and be gentle with yourself, because it's tough at times.
Yeah, and I love what you share, because for me it really is also indication of once you have committed to say, you know what, I love me. I love me enough to be very conscious of what I'm putting inside my body, because this is the house by which I move and function, right? Spiritual being in a physical body. And you're also, what you're sharing, it sounds like to me, is that you've declared to the world that I love myself enough to not let certain things in my body.
Right.
So that's a powerful powerful declaration to the world that I can't just put anything in my body, because I love my health, my wellness, and I want to be here. So this is really powerful. Like I said, when Tiara shared this with me recently, that she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then a year and a half after that particular diagnosis, that she was able to heal her body. And that's so powerful. I mean, that to me is such an inspiration, because I've heard of many stories with particularly women who are diagnosed with breast cancer and either, has succumbed after a long battle, or other illnesses in the body where, whatever the doctor said was gold, and that's it. If that doctor says I need to be on this med or that, I'm going to do it. But I really appreciate your courage to really push past that and say, you know what, I want to live, and I know a way to do it outside of what you're telling me. And so that's an act of faith too. And so really that's a powerful story. I wanted to make sure other people could hear that. And, for those of you who are listening or watching, I wish you take this as ammunition and tool, that whenever you're given a diagnosis, or whenever you're told that it may be the end of something, that it doesn't have to be. And it's whatever you believe it to be, right? And if you have the will and the willingness to say, I'm going to try something different. What else is out there that I don't know? And you sound like you had your research that you did in that time too.
Yeah. Well, so just another story. My son was actually he was hospitalized for like 3 days, and I didn't know what it was. It ended up being mold. We were exposed to mold. And so after, I was so scared. I was in the hospital, and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with him. So it's like you're constantly questioning, like, okay, what if it's this? What if it's that? And so after we found out it was mold, I actually did a whole bunch of research, and I studied. And with doing the research on mold, I ran into a lot of books on health and the things you put in your body, the effects it has on the body. So that kind of encouraged me too on this journey, because there's a lot of things they don't tell you that they put in the foods. So when they're processing it, it has a different response. The body has a response to it, and it causes these different diseases that they say are incurable, or this is the only way you can do it. But one thing that I did learn when reading these books was there are always options. You can do either the medicine, or you can do it the way that's not the norm, right? But with that, you have a choice. With having a choice, that gives you power. And so when you feel inspired, when you feel empowered, it does something to the body, to the spirit, and to everything. You are more in control of your body than this doctor that can tell you, oh, this is the only way out. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is take your power back. There are more options. There's other ways of healing yourself. And with this whole experience, it has actually empowered me to have more self-discipline and just in self-love and loving myself. And so,
yeah, that's powerful. And what you speak to earlier around, being empowered, how it affects, your emotional state, your psychological state, which then affects your body and your health, which is really important. And, and to the point you made earlier around, what you eat and family members, how they respond, and, oh, you're the weird one, or what you gonna eat, bird food, whatever the comments are, the back.
I love you, Dad.
No, I get that too, so I get it. But one thing I love about what Queen Afua is sharing and shares in her work, Queen Afua is also a world-renowned, healer, food herbalist, etc. And she talks a lot about that the women particularly are the primary healers of the home. And that once you got it right as the primary healer of the home, then you have the ability to influence, you change the whole dynamic of your household as far as being healthy and well. As for me, as a recent, my husband's adopted a vegan path, and he actually has been doing a lot of raw food, and he's noticed energy levels, dropping some weight, and just really saying, wait a minute, I need to keep doing this thing because I'm getting the results.
Right.
Yeah, I'm getting the results. And so, it's that when we get the information and the right tools, our home can be the healing space that it's originally intended to be. And so, to Queen Afua's, motto and encouragement that no one should have to leave our home to be healed, but the home is a healing place, with the herbal kitchen and really knowing how to put things together. It's
and
really
it
powerful.
Makes sense because we are the ones that cook the food. We ultimately can heal. That's our job, I feel like. So that's super powerful.
Yeah, it is amazing. So yeah, any last final comments?
Anyone that is starting on this journey, I would just say that like I said before, take your power back and love on yourself. You only have one you. Do everything that you can to build a healthy you and maintain a healthy you and a healthy body. And
yeah, and then and Tara's a really living example of what it means when you stand up for yourself and when you say that I am willing to do something differently because I want a different result. So thank you for being on and really sharing your wonderful testimonies. Amazing.
This is a wonderful woman here.
Thank you.
She inspires me in so many ways, and so I appreciate you for even allowing me this.
Of course. I mean, you have a powerful story, and I wanted to make sure, to share that on this platform. So thank you all for tuning in. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell for more videos. And then let us know if you have any questions or comments down below. We'll make sure we get back to you. So health is wealth. I bid you love, peace, and clean living.